तिमिरन्दस्या ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चाक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नामश्रेष्ठमनुमापि सच्चिपुत्रं मत्रस्वरूपं रूपं तस्याग्रजमुरुपुरीं मातुरीं गोष्ठावतीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरं महो राधिकमाधवसं प्राप्तो यस्याप्रतीतकृपाया श्रीगुरुं तं नतस्मै। वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। निखिलाश्रितिमौलिरत्नमालदिते निराजितपदपङ्कजन्ता आजीमुक्तकुलैरुपश्यामनं परितस्त्वं हरिणं संश्रयामि। अनारपितचरिं चिरात् करुणयावतरणाकलः क्षमार्पयितुमुन्नतज्वलरासं सुभक्तिश्रियं हरिपुरतसुन्दराद्युतिकदम्बसन्दीपिता सदा हृदये कन्दरे स्फुरतो वासचिनन्दना जानुलम्बिता भुजगकनकावदत् सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरो कमलायतक्षु विश्वम्भरद्व्यापरो जुगधर्मपालो वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरो करुणावतारो लादिनीशक्तिस्वरूपाय गौरङ्गसुहृदाय च भक्तशक्तिप्रदानाय गदाधर नमोस्तुते। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपीककान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। राधे वृन्दावनाधीशे करुणामृतवाहिनी कृपया निजपादब्जादशन्मह्यं प्रदीयतम्। भक्त्यापराधलक्षाय क्षिप्तशाकमादितरङ्गमाद्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणां प्रपन्नं वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। श्री सच्चिदानंद गौर हरि की जय, श्री हरिनाम प्रभु की जय, श्री श्री गौर नित्यानंद की जय, श्री श्री गौर गदाधर जी की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। So, pranam to all of you. Good evening, welcome. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and your attention. Not merely your physical presence, of course, but your inner presence as well, which brings us to be present in the present moment, and there's no better present that we can give to each other than being present in the present. So being present to the miracle of whatever is playing out in this precise moment. As normal as it may be, we are surrounded by the extraordinary at every single breath. So thank you so much to Rachel and to Narayan Prabhu for hosting us today. It was a very interesting arrangement that had us converging in this sweet spot, right? So it's very nice to be instrumental in that and seeing how, like Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bhagavan does one thing but accomplishes multitasks through one single thing. No? So we were supposed to organize one program at Tamal's place and ended up doing not only being here but accomplishing a few other things and interesting insights here. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yes. Yeah. So today is the last series of lectures I'm personally giving this last week, and we have been trying to somehow warm up for Gaura Purnima, which is happening this next Sunday, at least in this part of the universe. And I personally consider always very important to create some momentum for an important moment like Gaura Purnima, which of course, in one sense, it should be happening 24/7 in our hearts. It's not something to limit to one day a year, but a way to enter into that space and consciousness is this warming up of before the official day, trying to enter into the mood of the celebration and to understand what we are celebrating, who we are celebrating, why we are celebrating, and in that way, how we are supposed to be what's actual celebration. I mean, we have nice red balloons on the entrance and some other celebration elements, but at the end of the day, the real celebration always happens in the chamber of our heart. So we have been trying to share some thoughts on Mahaprabhu from different perspectives these days, in connection to the principle of tadatmya, or mystical empathy, in connection to the principle of his ever-evolving experience of the pursuit of divine love. We have even talked about unconditional love the other day, which is very tied to the Mahavadanyatva of Mahaprabhu, the great munificence of Sri Chaitanya Dev. And somehow today, reaching the end of our lectures, we were thinking about, let's go straight to the topic. So the title for today is What's Gaura Purnima All About? Basically, what we are supposed to be celebrating on this next Sunday, which of course is not a way of wanting to establish, today we'll teach you how to celebrate Gaura Purnima, and this is the only way how it should be done. That's not the spirit of it all, but just trying to go a little deep into what's behind and inside Gaura Purnima. What's the celebration within the celebration, so to say. No? Because we can be celebrating something and there are so many, literally endless layers of what's actually going on a day like Gaura Purnima. And there are corresponding levels of celebration to all those layers of meaning and purpose. So before starting more officially, some of you are getting acquainted with our tradition for the recent times, so to say. I mean, no, 25 years is nothing. We have infinity to delve into that. But I want to clarify that a few of these topics, as it may have happened during these days as well, may not be the most introductory topics, but it's okay. I mean, nothing is introductory if you really approach the name, the prasad, the association, anything we may be talking is not introductory. I'll try to make it as understandable as I can, but also just giving this preliminary caution that it's okay if some things go above your head also. No, it's good to experience that type of astonishment and overwhelming and realizing like, wow, what's that concept that just passed above my head and I couldn't grasp it, like 0%. No, it's okay. It's a healthy. You will survive that, no problem. Like the other day, some friends came from Georgia to hear some lectures, and he was telling me, "No, Maharaj, I met you 3 years ago in North Carolina. You were giving one lecture, but it was kind of my first lecture, and I understood nothing of that class." And I was like, "What they're talking about?" No, but here I am, he said, coming from Georgia to listen. So there's hope. There's hope in unknowing, so to say, and it's a humbling experience. I mean, I will always recommend, do not ever go to a lecture expecting to understand everything, because that's not a healthy way to approach the topic. No? I want to understand everything. No, this is not for that. No. It's always healthy. Even when you think, I understood everything, we are in trouble. We have to really go deeper to realize, okay, no, I didn't understand everything. No. So we always have to remain in a humble, teachable moment in connection to something like Gaura Purnima, to speak, to something like Mahaprabhu. So Gaura Purnima, of course, as we know, is the appearance day of Sri Chaitanya Dev. And to speak about Sri Chaitanya Dev is in itself, he is an ocean of so many things. About an ocean is in itself an oceanic type of conversation. So fasten your seatbelts and hopefully nobody drowns in the attempt of understanding who is Sri Chaitanya Dev. No? Because even before talking about Sri Chaitanya, we can talk about Sri Radha and Krishna, and of course we can talk after Sri Chaitanya about Sri Radha and Krishna, about the notion of a plural divine, which is in itself enough overwhelming for some of us who may come with a simplistic idea of God, or a classical theistic idea of God, which is one, always male, bordering chauvinism in some cases, too male, so to say. And in most cases, we need to deconstruct those sometimes toxic notions of the divinity. In Gaudiya Vaishnavism, our tradition will speak about a God who not necessarily is one, but we can talk in terms of two. Of course, we can talk in terms of 5, in terms of 10, Panchatattva, Dasavata. I won't overwhelm you to that level today, but just let's talk about 2. Let's talk about God and the goddess. These 2 polarities, sacred male, sacred female, coexisting in perfect harmony and integration. So God is not only one. Why not thinking of God in terms of a couple, the divine couple? God is a divine couple. I will stop for a few seconds so we can allow the idea to sink in. God is a divine couple, which is a template, an archetype that is there, I will say, to heal even most of our traumas with both these principles of male and female out of balance, out of sync, having been experienced in our lifetime in a traumatic way, in so many ways that end up being projected onto the divine, and we end up with a traumatized version of God. And if God is there, He's there for many things, and one of them is to heal all of our traumas and not to trigger further layers of trauma by how we are conceiving the divine. So here we are having this beautiful integrating, integrative idea of God as a divine couple, of these polarities, of these principles in life, which are present everywhere. And sometimes we may talk in terms of the yin, the yang, perfect integration, perfect balance, perfect harmony, perfect beauty. The divine has to be ultimately all this, not truth, in the words of Srila Siddhar Maharaj, truth, harmony, beauty. If we have to use 3 words to point at what the ideal divine has to be truth, has to be real, the most real, but that reality has to be in harmony. It has to imply harmony. With harmony implies integration of diversity, so to say, integration of polarity creates harmony. Like in music, you play different notes all together, properly integrated, create harmony, and that concludes or converges into the principle of beauty. So we have Radha and Krishna, we have a divine couple, we have one soul taking 2 bodies, in the words of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the Prem Samput. Radha and Krishna is one soul taking 2 bodies for the purpose of loving interaction. We have God and God loving each other, which again is maybe quite counterintuitive to our rational way to approach things. How can God be community? Right? Again, God is not one old male bordering chauvinistic guy way beyond otherworldly in heaven and in cloud, but he's a community of love. And we are invited to be part of that community, basically. At least for me, that's way more user-friendly. No. So, of course, this does not end here. I mean, all this is just the preliminary notion to arrive to the idea of Sri Chaitanya Dev. But already to talk about the plural divine and a divine couple, I mean, that will require in itself so much. Well, we will have eternity on our side. So that's our hope. So we can continue ruminating on this. But as we know, in this dual form of Radha and Krishna, God as a divine couple, God as a community of love, so to say, the nature of the interaction creates its own paradigms, so to say. The nature of the loving interaction between Radha and Krishna creates new needs, as we were talking this day. Love satisfies all needs. Love creates its own needs. Love is prayojan, as we say the other day. Prayojan means like the ultimate goal, but prayojan also means necessity. in Sanskrit. So in one sense, Prem Prayojan means divine love is the ultimate goal by which all other necessities become fulfilled or even insignificant in comparison. But also we could say Prem Prayojan means love is the ultimate necessity. And once you attain it, love creates the ultimate necessity. Love creates its own necessities forever. So in that sense, Prem is Prayojan. Prem will create the actual Prayojan. When you arrive to Prem, to divine love, you will understand what does it mean to be needy, as we said the other day. We think we have needs. Wait till you achieve divine love. Then you will discover the full-fledged meaning of the word need, necessity, being needy. Then you realize, okay, that was the meaning of it. When we love, all other needs are satisfied, and the greatest needs start to appear. Love creates its own needs, and the needs, of course, happen only in the context of further love, of furthering the experience of love in ever-evolving ways. So God is not an exception to that rule. God also experiences unquenching thirst, to explore the depths of love, to explore the depths of his own hearts in love. Krishna is God in love, so to say. God eternally fallen in love. God romanticized. He's a romantic God, but he's fully romanticized. He's fully cupidized. If you want to find a verb for Cupid. So in that context, with Sri Radha, as we know, we reach a point in eternity, a point beyond time, a timeless point, where Sri Krishna starts to wonder about the nature of Radha's love. It's so way beyond his own experience that he becomes obsessed with the idea of being empathic with that. We used the word tadatmya the other day. Tadatmya in that way can be a name for Mahaprabhu from Sri Chaitanya, where Krishna tries to be empathic with the experience of Sri Radha, where he tries to enter her heart, relish her love, and understand himself from the lens of her perspective. Imagine if you have, of course, there's no point of comparison, but we have to begin somewhere, and this is beyond imagination, but try to imagine to begin with. You have someone in this life that loves you madly and is absolutely obsessed in a non-codependent way, just in case, with you, and just fully dedicated and adapting to whatever gives pleasure to you, the object of her affection. And at one point you may wonder, like, why this person loves me so much? Krishna himself feels like that, interestingly. If you read Prema Samput, he's kind of in that overwhelmed humility, like, why Radha loves me like that? I mean, I've heard I'm a special. I've heard people call me the all attractive. There must be something cool about me. But the way she loves me, that's too much. So what's she seeing in me? What's in me that makes her crazy as she is? So I'm intrigued. Krishna couldn't sleep at night, and now he cannot sleep even less than that. So as we know, this is kind of the beginning, quote unquote, in a point beyond time of the experience of Mahaprabhu, of the experiment called Gaur Leela. I like to describe Gaur Leela as a laboratory where Krishna enters to make an experiment. What does it mean to taste Radha Bhav? And the experiment is powerful because he will try to make some substances that can make the whole laboratory like explode. Because we are dealing with the most powerful type of love here. So Sri Chaitanya Dev, all this to make it, maybe it's still not introductory, and sorry for that, a brief explanation of what's behind this idea of who is Sri Chaitanya, who is Krishna, in the attempt, desperate need of empathize with the heart of his most beloved. So, and generally we hear Sri Chaitanya Dev is Radha and Krishna combined. And you have nothing against that premise. Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nayanya, Rupa Nog Janir Jivan. for the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami to speak about in which way Mahaprabhu's Radha and Krishna combined. That's their life and soul. So here we are, talking about our life and soul, about Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya, and how he is Radha and Krishna, in which sense? Because Nami Krishna Swarupam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mahaprabhu is still Krishna, Radha Bhava Dyuti Subhalita, being embraced by the hail of Sri Radha and tasting her inner heart. Sri Chaitanya is not Sri Radha in every sense of the term. Sri Chaitanya is Krishna tasting the experience of Sri Radha. So, of course, if we say that, then hopefully the sensitive theological question will be, so where's Sri Radha and Gaur Leela? No. No. If Sri Chaitanya is Krishna tasting Radha's experience, where is Sri Radha? I mean, she has to be there accompanying him in such a risky experiment. No. She won't tell Krishna, yeah, go to that new Leelas, Mahaprabhu, and do your attempts, do your experiment. Good luck with that. It all depends on her. No. The success of such an adventure, it's all in her hands. So she must be there present somehow, quite close to him. So then we are getting close to what's Gaura Purnima all about. No? So where is Radha in Gaur Leela? Of course, Radha is present in Mahaprabhu's experience for sure, but she's present there in a very glorious way, very noble way, emptying herself out to allow her beloved, her Prananath, her Krishna to be successful, to not meet failure in his attempt to relish her heart. So she appears, Sri Radha appears in Gaur Leela in the form of Gadadhar Pandit. So as we have Radha and Krishna, the corresponding parallel expression of the divine couple in this Gaur Leela is called Gaur Gadadhar, Gaur Gadai. So today I would like to share a few words, and then Tamala Krishna Prabhu will continue on what's Gaura Purnima all about. And my original plan, I'm confessing here, because originally we were planning to have the program at Tamal Krishna's place, and there was some interesting arrangement that has it here, very nice. But my original plan was, because Tamal's deity is in the altar, and the altar of the heart is Gaur Gadai, Gaur Gadadhar. So try to picture for a moment, Sri Sri Gaur Gadadhar. They are there in the altar also. They're Radha and Krishna, they're Gaur Gadadhar. So my plan was basically to introduce my lecture telling you what's Gaura Purnima all about, and to point in this direction. It's about those chota little guys on that little corner of the jungle, Lachwa. Those two little jungle celibates hidden over there in that corner. Gaura Purnima is all about that. And not only Gaura Purnima is all about them. A few other things are all about them. Just basically the totality of existence. Let's be more precise. But today we are talking about Gaura Purnima, so nobody feels too overwhelmed. Let's begin with Gaura Purnima is all about them. So in which sense Gaura Purnima is all about Mahaprabhu, and it's all about Gadadhar Pandit. Again, that's a celebration within the celebration. In one sense, the celebration is Gaura Purnima, we're celebrating Mahaprabhu's appearance. Great. That's perfectly fine and glorious in itself. And we are celebrating that we have been blessed by Mahaprabhu's appearance and Mahaprabhu's gift extended to us through his appearance. And his appearance somehow is making us appear to ourselves in our real light, in all our potential. But there is a whole background to his appearance that makes him appear. I mean, he's appearing first and foremost to taste the heart of Sri Radha, as we were mentioning. The primary purposes for the appearance of Mahaprabhu is to taste something, and the secondary purpose or the consequence of his own tasting is us being able to taste the remnants of his own experience. That's how we are here now. That's how we are existing and surviving, so to say, by the Mahaprasad, in that sense of Mahaprabhu. He's tasting something, and the extension of his own experience is coming to us through parampara. But for Mahaprabhu to taste something, whatever he wants to taste is coming from another source. Someone is the facilitator of Mahaprabhu's experience, and that someone is Gadadhar Pandit. So because Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Radha and Gaur Leela is giving her heart to Krishna's Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu can taste what he tastes, and then we can relish the extension of that experience. And that's why we are celebrating Gaura Purnima, actually. If Gadadhar Pandit wouldn't be facilitating the experience of Mahaprabhu, the whole Gaur Leela becomes a failure, goes to bankruptcy, basically. So in that connection, of course, we are today, nor this Sunday, is not Gadadhar Pandit's appearance. So for some of you, it may sound like you should be talking about Mahaprabhu. Gadadhar Pandit's appearance comes June, July, in that time of the year. We are talking about Mahaprabhu's appearance, but again, we wouldn't have Mahaprabhu's appearance without the appearance of the existence and the disposition of service of Gadadhar Pandit, of Sri Radha, in this unique service disposition that we will try to analyze today. So, as I mentioned, in brief words, the whole success of Gaur Leela depends on Gadadhar Pandit. That's why in many, not always, but in many of the pictures and altar deities that we find Gadadhar Pandit many times is like this, which implies how Sri Radha is fully giving her heart to Krishna as Mahaprabhu to experience that. Sometimes Nityananda Prabhu is also like this, which implies Nitai is giving Mahaprabhu to the world, and Gadadhar is giving his heart to Mahaprabhu. No? So it's like it's our Gaudiya Trinity. So one is facilitating the other and nourishing each other, and we can enter there in the midst of the Trinity and become like part of that, blessed by that. So that's how we can justify our celebration of Gaura Purnima ultimately. Because in Gaura Purnima, and it's again totally fine, we will glorify Mahaprabhu, Jai Sri Chaitanya Dev, Jai Sachidananda, Jai Gaurahari, because of his gift. We have been blessed by him, Unnatoj Balarasa, and so on and so forth. But again, the point is, from whom Mahaprabhu received the gift we are receiving from him. And that person is Gadadhar Pandit. The ultimate giver in Gaur Leela is Gadadhar Pandit, not Mahaprabhu. With all respect and honor to Sri Chaitanya Dev, of course. No? There's nothing that will please Mahaprabhu more than hearing Gadadhar kirtan, so to say, Gadai praise. So we could say Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Dev, yeah, he's Krishna. Don't lose sight of this. He's Krishna in his most generous moment, we could say. That's why he's called sometimes Mahavadanya Avatar, the most magnanimous form of the Absolute. So Chaitanya Dev is Krishna in his most magnanimous moment. But Mahaprabhu can be the most magnanimous only because Gadadhar is Sri Radha in her most magnanimous moment. Sri Radha as Gadadhar is her in her most generous disposition, giving her own heart fully to Krishna. So he can become famous as the most merciful. All the fame goes to Krishna always, but Sri Radha is in the background, allowing all that to happen. As we'll see, Gadadhar Pandit actually, interestingly enough, he's one of the, in one sense, we could say every member of the Panchatattva, Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, from different perspectives, we can explain each of them as the most important for different reasons. Recently in Nityananda Triyodasi, we focus on, today Nityananda Prabhu is the most important member of the Panchatattva. In a few days, Mahaprabhu will be the most important, and so on and so forth. That's tasteful praise. It's not just, this can only be the best and all the other four are like, sorry to say, No, it's nice to glorify all of them and create this like tasty competition. All of them are the most important. Today you are the most important. Don't be jealous, you four other. Today you are the most important, and so on. But in one sense, we could say Gadadhar Pandit is the most important because of the reasons we are mentioning. Paradoxically, Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Radha's Gadadhar Pandit is the most important member of the Panchatattva, of the Gaur Leela, and he is one of the less known figures in the whole Gaur Leela, person of which you hear the less. So that's also like a very glorious contribution, like almost anonymous in one sense, but allowing the whole thing to happen. Like sometimes I've heard recently of some artists or groups, again, I'm not comparing with Gadadhar Pandit, but just very famous musicians and groups and artists from different kinds who are anonymous. So I appreciated that. I thought, wow, that's good. I mean, that's intelligent also, because you don't have to deal with fame and people know who you are and going crazy. They're totally famous, but nobody knows who they are. So it's like, okay, that's a statement of principle. I'm contributing my art to the world, and I just want to do the contribution. I don't care, and from whom that's coming and all that stuff. So again, that's an example from this side of the world. That take that to the ultimate level and expression, in which you can have someone like Gadadhar Pandit, love personified in its ultimate form, almost totally behind the curtains, orchestrating the whole show, so to say, allowing Mahaprabhu to be successful, Gaur Leela to be successful, while he is hiding and disappearing. The more successful Mahaprabhu becomes, the more Gadadhar Pandit anonymous. That's the glory of the humility of love. As Sanatana Goswami will say in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Prem and Dhainya are correlated, so to say. The more love you have, the more humility you have. The more humility you have, the more love you have. And the two of them act as cause and effect of one another. So it's no wonder that the very embodiment of love somehow is the very embodiment of humility and anonymity, you say? Yeah. So Gadadhar Pandit is the most important of the most important Leela, and is the less mentioned somehow, which also speaks about the, we will say, the rahasyatva, or the secrecy of the principle. But something is too confidential, it's proper that it's not like publicly announced like a mainstream product to be consumed, so to say, because it has to be dealt with very delicate hands and eyes and hearts, so to say. So in Gadadhar Pandit, we find, as I mentioned, a very unique service disposition, which corresponds with the inner disposition in which Bhagavan finds himself in that particular Leela, Sri Chaitanya. That's a very interesting point that we mentioned some years ago. There are different descriptions of God, in different traditions, and some of them are more detailed, let's say, than others. And I would say that the more specific the description of the Godhead, the more detailed the service necessity that will come and that we can offer. In other words, to give you an example, in some traditions, there is no very clear idea of who God is, who the divine is. And correspondingly, generally, there is not very much clear idea of who will be in connection to that person, what we'll be doing, how we'll be living and offering ourselves in service. Or sometimes, for example, a more Vaikuntha-like idea, and I'm not criticizing that, it's just what it is for eternity, so it's perfect in its own way. But in Vaikuntha, we have an idea of God being, there is some considerable detail about him, but he is Atmaram, Narayan. He's self-satisfied. So God is self-satisfied, therefore, there's no much to do there in service to him. I mean, there is lots to do. The degree of necessity doesn't reach the point that it reaches in Vrindavan, for example. And therefore, in Vaikuntha, we'll find the possibility of relationship is Shanta Rasa and one part of Dasya Rasa, period. Because God there is experiencing a type of love that do not create that degree of thirst and necessity. And therefore, there's no need, such a need of service to a heightened necessity. So Narayan in Vaikuntha is relatively self-satisfied. No? Generally, we hear his reclining, and there's some foot massage being given. Lakshmi can do that. Don't try to mess up with her. That's her seva. Pada Sevanam. And most of the people in Vaikuntha are like in passive contemplation, beatific adoration, which again, it's totally perfect for them, and there's a place for that in eternity, so it's glorious. We are not against that. No? We are not racists, no, racist in the context of rasa, saying this is only the only rasa possible, all that is low. No. We are not racists. Not racist either, hopefully. So yeah. My God. So my point is, and even if there's some service performed to Narayan in Vaikuntha, we know we're probably more out of duty, like he's God, no, and he is to be served because he's God. While in Vrindavan, we find a different scenario. Krishna is served out of necessity, no, the perceived necessity in the devotees. Krishna is hungry, Krishna is there, and he is not God, just in case, for them. No, the necessity arises out of a sense of familiarity and intimacy, which creates augmented necessities of service. So as we were saying, no, and of course the gamut of options go way beyond Santa and Dasya, no? The other half of servitorship, friendship, and so on and so forth, Vatsalya, Madhura, which speaks about the degree of need that Krishna feels there. Way more needy than Narayan in Vaikuntha, but his needs come out of love again. So the more we can conceive of God as full of necessities in love, the more opportunities of service we have. The more self-satisfied God is, the less we have to do. Which again, I'm not saying it's a problem, it's just a matter of choice. But the point is, in Vrindavan, we are finding a height of necessity of service because Krishna is so much in need. Sometimes we will say, kind of joking, but we are not joking, which is love creates such a necessity that on a daily basis, Shri Radha and Krishna, to give you an example, in separation from each other, they are basically feeling like dying at one point. One of the symptoms of divine separation is mrityu, or death. I mean, they will never die, but it borders death-like experiences. So they are about to die in separation from each other. I mean, if you love someone and you are not with that someone, many times we heard that in our tradition. The fact that I'm alive proves that I have no love, because if I will have love, I will die. No, which is like, okay, that's intense. And to walk the talk, not merely say that, wow, that's intense. So that happens to them on a daily basis. They're about to die in separation from each other. And part of our service in eternity will be save the life of God on a daily basis in that context. That's interesting, no? Because you could say, who am I to save God's life on a daily basis? But that's the arrangements of Yoga Maya. That's the arrangements of divine orchestration, divine creativity. We are bordering nothingness in our smallness, but will be such empowering. Our potential in love is such that on a daily basis we can assist God in saving her life day after day after day after day. Which also speaks about, again, the need of service that there is. There's so much love, therefore there's so much need. That's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say, I like to die in Kurukshetra. It's a whole other topic, but basically the point is, I want to enter that eternal point in time where Sri Radha is in her most intense moment of necessity. I want to offer myself perpetually to that necessity. And the most I can give myself to serve the need of the moment, of the hour, the higher the remuneration will be. And of course, the remuneration will be in terms of more capacity for further service. The remuneration is not separate from that, because bhakti is for its own sake. Entonces, I'm speaking Spanish, sorry. That's your fault that you asked me to talk in Spanish for our lecture. What to do? We are half Latinos here, so we could switch for a moment. So the point, according to the mood in which the divine finds himself, herself, in each Leela, in each stage of divine loving existence, there will be specific needs of service, and the servant will be willing to offer himself, herself in that connection. So in the case of Mahaprabhu, in the case of Gaur Leela, the necessity is very specific because the project called Gaur Leela is very specific. Here we have Krishna wanting to taste Radha Bhav. That's a very consuming project, very intense. So very specific needs of service will appear in connection to that. And therefore we are invited to serve that as well. Celebrate Gaura Purnima is also entering to that space of where I can start to ponder how I'm supposed to offer myself in service to Mahaprabhu. Who is Mahaprabhu? What's his mode? What's his experience? What's his need? What's the need of service here? He's the most vulnerable face of the Absolute in one sense. And he's the most volcanic face of the Absolute at the same time. He's a golden volcano of divine love. He's almighty, but he's all vulnerable simultaneously because he's in such a need. He's so exposed to the emotions of Sri Radha. It's such a risky, uncertain project, and he's totally immersed into that. So in Gaur Leela, we Gaudiya Vaishnavas will say we will find in Gaur Leela Krishna in his most upgraded version, his most complete version. As we say the other, Gaur Govinda Swami will say, Krishna in Vrindavan is an unripe mango. I mean, we are not insulting Krishna, calling him an unripe mango, but just by comparison, he's an unripe mango. In Navadvip, he's a ripe mango. The mellow is fully mature. He's experiencing what he was not able to experience in any other form. That's why Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami calls Mahaprabhu Paratattva Simha, which means the highest, the ultimate limit of the Absolute. The Bhagavatam calls Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Chaitanya Charitamrita calls Mahaprabhu Paratattva Simha. So that's unique praise to Sri Chaitanya Dev. So Mahaprabhu is Krishna in his most upgraded version, and therefore Gadadhar Pandit is Radha in her most upgraded version, keeping the pace with the necessity of the moment. Krishna, Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna, as I like to say. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. And Sri Radha is the Supreme Personality of the Goddess. And Gadadhar is the Supreme Personality of Radha. Sorry to make a play of words, but those are the facts, not only a play of words. No. Because Gadadhar is Radha in her ultimate form, serving Krishna in his ultimate form. That's how it works, basically. And Mahaprabhu is not only Krishna in his moment of greatest necessity, but Gadadhar is Radha in her moment of greatest necessity. Why? Because Gadadhar is Radha identified with Krishna in his greatest necessity. You follow? I mean, Radha's greatest necessity is Krishna's greatest necessity because she's fully identified with whatever Krishna needs. So when we find Krishna in his greatest necessity, Mahaprabhu, he needs to taste Radha Bhav. Therefore, we have a corresponding expression of Radha in her greatest necessity, fully identified with Krishna's greatest necessity. His necessity becomes her necessity, but amplified in Gaur Leela, basically. And Gadadhar is willing to offer himself fully, as Srila Siddhar Maharaj will poetically say it, as you may know. Just a few words to conclude, that Krishna appears on a Janmashtami, which is a half moon day, Astami. Sri Radha appears on a half moon day also, Radhastami. We have 2 half moons. And Mahaprabhu, who somehow, as we say, is Krishna, tasting Radha, appears on a Purnim, which is full moon. The 2 half moons somehow put together. But on top of that, we will add Gadadhar Pandit. He appears in Amavasya, which means no moon, new moon, empty. Appears and disappears on Amavasya, and on the hottest summer season of the year, which implies for Mahaprabhu to be the full moon, Sri Radha, Gadadhar has to empty himself so Mahaprabhu can become filled with that heart, with that experience. So generally we sometimes conceive that like fullness has more to do with the more we have and the more we accumulate and fuller. But here we are receiving a very different logic. The more you empty yourself, the fuller you are. Although it seems like you are empty, you are bereft with nothing. Srila Sirmash will poetically describe Gadadhar as an empty bag. But he will say, if you properly understand the glory of that emptying of his heart, the glory of Gadadhar outshines the glory of Mahaprabhu, he will say. If you enter into that realm of trance logic, when you learn that logic works in a new way, to empty yourself is the ultimate fulfillment and glory. No, it's not about accumulating and taking, but so that's Gadadhar Pandit, basically. That's Sri Radha in this unique mood. And that mood, again, it's whatever is favorable to Krishna. Whatever, in one sense, Sri Radha doesn't have a mood of her own, separate. It's whatever is favorable for Krishna, that's her mood. So if something is favorable for Krishna in Vrindavan, in a certain way, that's her mood. If allowing herself to be embraced is favorable for Krishna, that's her mood. If Krishna rejecting her nourishes the Leela, somehow that's her mood. If emptying herself so Krishna's Mahaprabhu becomes successful, that's her mood. That's the criteria. Whatever is favorable, that's her mood. Anukul. That's why Rupa Goswami will say, basically the most important word in his definition of what's bhakti could be probably anukul. Anukul yena krishnanam shilanam bhakti uttama. To have the intention of giving pleasure to the object of our affection. Not only accidentally doing something that pleases Krishna. No, because that can happen casually. I did something that did happen to please Krishna, but it was not very intentional. So bhakti is quite intentional. So that's her mood. Whatever Krishna wants to do with me, I remain favorable to whatever is favorable to him. Whatever form it takes. Embrace, rejection, Gaur Leela, Krishna Leela, Ram Leela. She will appear in whatever corresponding form is there. So we are invited to serve that, not to serve the glory of her mood. Interestingly, in Gaur Leela, and just two more words and I'm concluding. In Gaur Leela, those who, for example, in Krishna Leela are inclined to serve Sri Radha, we will call that Radha Dasyam, to offer service to Sri Radha. That's in one sense a gift of Mahaprabhu, Radha Dasyam. But in Gaur Leela in itself, in what we will call Nitya Navadvip, the eternal Navadvip, those who have an affinity for Radha Dasyam can offer double Radha Dasyam. Because you can serve Radha Dasyam in the form of Mahaprabhu's experience of Radha Bhav. That's one type of Radha Dasyam. You are serving Radha Bhava Dasyam, what Mahaprabhu is experiencing, which is Radha Bhav. And you can also serve Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Radha emptying himself for Mahaprabhu to be successful. So you can offer Radha Dasyam by serving Gadadhar Pandit in Gaur Leela, and you can offer Radha Dasyam by serving the Radha Bhav that Mahaprabhu is experiencing in Gaur Leela. So Gaur Leela offers this two for the price option for those who have that affinity in particular. So, and of course, in connection to Gaur Leela, someone may wonder, okay, Mahaprabhu, somehow Gaur Leela was created, quote unquote created, it doesn't begin in time, but we could say, following this sequence, Krishna created Gaur Leela to try to repay back his depth of love to Sri Radha and the gopis. But we see now, by witnessing the glory of Gadadhar Pandit, you could argue, well, but Mahaprabhu now trying to repay back to Sri Radha is more indebted now, because now Sri Radha appears as Gadadhar Pandit and increase her service disposition. So Krishna is further indebted because there's no you cannot match Radha's service disposition. And when you try to pay back, she already adopted a new service disposition that puts you in a higher debt. So one may question, so do we need a third Leela apart from Krishna Leela and Gaur Leela? So Krishna tries to pay back or does something. But actually, no need for another Leela, because Gaur Leela in itself is eternal. It has boundless, endless, bottomless depth, and of course in our attempt of service, and in our terms of qualifying ourselves, we can try to serve Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit, and by serving Gadadhar Pandit, we can try to help Mahaprabhu to pay back his debt of service somehow or other to Sri Radha, which again, it will continue increasing, and that's God's glory. He's happy being in eternal debt with love. Now, that's the only way we can transcend any other form of debt in our particular case. Now, we may have a big karmic debt, so the only way to transcend that debt is acquiring a debt with a higher department, so to say, and that will harmonize everything. So yeah, it is because of Gadadhar Pandit that again that this whole Gaur Leela is successful. As we know, to go back to the beginning of the Leela of Mahaprabhu, when Mahaprabhu in his Leela on earth was not a devotee. At one point, Mahaprabhu was a non-devotee, if you want to put it like that. He was a jnani, he was a pandit, and he was immersed in studies and logic and grammar and so on. And as we know, at one point he's meeting with Gadadhar Pandit, who was also a pandit, but he was a devotional pandit. And we know this famous meeting between Gadadhar Pandit and Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu will go behind everyone and invite for debates and torture everyone. They will see Mahaprabhu and they will cross the street. They will jump on the river and cross to the other side, because there comes Nimai. He's obsessed with debates and no. So he was a genius, no? And he was totally attractive and captivating. So who could say no? But they will become entangled and for hours, and oh my gosh. So at one point, Gadadhar Pandit, who is shy by nature, sees Nimai Pandit approaching, and he didn't have time to jump into the Ganga and cross to the other side. So Nimai faces him. No, I said, okay, give me a definition of mukti, no, quickly. No, so it's like that was the style. No? It was not like, hey, Gadai, how are you doing? Nice, and so on. And there is classic definition of mukti, tyantika dukkha nivriti, which basically means like to be free from all dukkha, from all suffering and so on. But he say that Nimai was not fully satisfied with that, although that's the official definition of mukti. Gadadhar Pandit's definition was legal, but Nimai wanted to churn the ocean of interaction. And he will say like something like, okay, I give you 24 hours to find a better definition than that. No. And you can imagine, no, Gadadhar Pandit that way. No. So it is say that in that situation, of course, Gadadhar was very shy and humble. He wouldn't attack back. And in the direction, in the distance, when Nimai continued, Gadadhar will start to pray, like, may Nimai become a Vaishnava, may Nimai Pandit become a Vaishnava. Such a beautiful boy, so genius, so attractive. But he's a non-devotee, and he's a Pandit on top of that, non-devotee. That's not the best mix. May he become a Vaishnava. So we go, just will say in this context, if Mahaprabhu became a Vaishnava, which he did eventually, it was only because of the prayers of Gadadhar Pandit. No. To add charm to this, not only Mahaprabhu depended on Gadadhar to be successful in his ultimate relishing of Radha, but even to give his first steps in devotional life, he did it by the prayers and mercy of Sri Radha, of Gadadhar Pandit. So in this way, by the prayers of Gadadhar, Mahaprabhu became a devotee, and eventually took shelter, as we know, in Ishwar Puri, and eventually by Gadadhar's mercy, Mahaprabhu was able to taste Radha Bhav. He became not only a devotee, he became the devotee. He tasted Radha's heart. He became Radha in one sense. That's why the very last verse of Sikshastakam, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami say this verse was spoken by Sri Radha, like indicating just at the very end of the Gaur Leela, Mahaprabhu was successful. He spoke this verse fully embedded in Radha Bhav, like concluding the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, like he did it. But at that point, Gadadhar Pandit totally disappeared from the stage. He's in total Gopinath, seeing in Samadhi what's going on in the heart of his beloved, and in full humility, allowing everything to happen from the backdrop, from behind the curtain. So in this way, we see how the success of Mahaprabhu in Gaur Leela rests on the outstretched hands of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Of course, that's what today we are celebrating, and that's what in one way Gaura Purnima is all about. Because again, without this crucial personality ingredient, there is no Mahaprabhu, there is no Gaur Leela, there is no Gaura Purnima, and by extension, there's none of us here. Because all of us here are a byproduct of Mahaprabhu's grace, who is a byproduct of Gadadhar's grace. So I don't want to sound, but we owe our existence to Sri Gadadhar Pandit, strictly speaking, our devotional existence. So it's a good, I consider it was a good point to make in our approaching Gaura Purnima and trying to go a little bit beyond the official narrative and reasons of what's Gaura Purnima all about, and try to plumb the depths of this a little bit more. This is endless ocean. So a few words in this connection, trying to share some words as Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say, Sunu Gaura Gadadhar Charu Katham, inviting us to hear the enchanting conversations and topics connected to Sri Sri Gaura Gadai Ki Jai, Sri Pandit Gadadhar Ki Jai, Gaura Premanand. So I'd like to pass the torch to my dear friend. You need to go to the bathroom?
More peaceful.
Okay. So we'll allow Tamala Krishna Prabhu to share a few words. I don't know if meanwhile he needs to go to the bathroom 1 minute. If there's any question or something, we may entertain 1-2 minutes before continuing regarding what we just mentioned so far. Yes, Chitra Devi. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too. So my question is regarding to the discussion about the necessity that Mahaprabhu can have, or Krishna can have, to, like, I would say, like, when you explain at the end of the class, you say, like, well, you know, he in totally sense, he's so totally satisfied, right?
Mhm.
So where is this necessity there when he's totally satisfied? I mean, I can understand that we are not satisfied.
Mhm.
We have a necessity.
Mhm.
We want to find a relationship with him,
Mhm.
and we want to serve him to get some of that relationship there, awake that relationship in that way that will fulfill our necessity.
Mhm. Mhm.
But he's Sachinanda. I mean, like, he doesn't need it,
Mm.
and he is totally absolute. So
Yeah.
he's not gonna get sad. He's not gonna get happy, right? He's just gonna.
Yeah.
So yeah. So kind of like.
Yeah, but the point is that, again, as we were mentioning, and this is the logic of love. Love creates its own necessities. Try to understand that when we love, really love, we will get a glimpse that there's no limit to how much more love we can love. When you love, you realize there's no limit to how much I can love. And that creates its own necessity. The necessity is only happening in the context of love. It's not something else. You love and you are fulfilled, but at the same time you realize there's unlimited potential to love. So the need comes for more love, for more depth in love, and that has no end. So those are the necessities that I'm talking about in connection to love. It's not necessity out of emptiness, but out of fullness. No, you are full, but you can be more full. You are complete, and I know this is paradoxical, but God is complete, but he can become more complete. Like Rupa Goswami says, Krishna in Dwarka is complete, in Mathura is more complete, in Vrindavan is most complete. It's always complete, but there are degrees of completeness. It's a way, again, words are limited, but it's a way of indicating when we speak of God as perfect, as complete, that we are not talking about like a fixed maximum. Like, this is complete, finish, period. Now, complete means unending expansion of what's already complete. And ongoing perfection, ongoing evolution of love. It goes beyond our head for sure. So, but those are the needs in the context of love, needs to celebrate. Like Krishna and the gopis meeting for Rasa Leela. It's not that Krishna has some existential crisis in a mundane way and the gopis have some empty existential void, they are codependent. Nothing like that. No, both Krishna and the gopis are complete, and they get together to celebrate their completeness. So that's a necessity in its own way. You could say when you are full of love, you have the necessity to celebrate that. That's a necessity, but it's coming out of fullness, not out of emptiness. So that's what Krishna says in the Gita. When he acts, I don't act out of for pleasure. I act out of pleasure. That's what we call Leela, celebration. No, I'm so full that I cannot just sit doing nothing. If you're completely brimming with love and overflowing, you cannot just like, I'm self-satisfied. You're like, you have to wake up and dance and roll on the ground and sing and celebrate existence 24/7 for eternity. And that's why we can have this ongoing Leela. That's what's actually happening there. It's God celebrating. That's the necessity to celebrate his own fullness, his own perfection,
So,
and so
he
on.
has that necessity? I mean, that's my point. Like,
Yes.
I understand that we have that necessity.
Well, that's a very but it's a very different necessity because we don't have the love he's experiencing so far. So it's a very different quality of necessity. But yeah, there is a place for necessity, eternally. The closer we get to love, that's what I said before. We think we have necessities. Wait till you develop love. Then you understand what does it mean to have necessities. And then we will understand which are the necessities that God has. And then we can offer our life to serve those necessities because his necessities will become our necessity. Whatever they need becomes our need to serve that. So anyhow, few words. Okay, one more. I don't want to, but yeah, one. You went too quickly to the bathroom, Tamal, sorry.
Just a quick reflection. I
Yes.
really liked what you said about how Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. That
Yeah.
was really well said, and I really like that.
Okay, I like that you like that. Yeah, that came a few years ago, and it's like, yes, I have to repeat this enough times. That has to be made a new one-liner.
How did you like Gadadhar as the Supreme Personality of Radha? How does that
Yeah, amazing.
We have to find a corresponding. Yeah, so we say the other day here in the States, you have this idea of black. So we'll say golden. Golden is the new black. Gold is the new shine. So to say, that's another one-liner if you want to. Yeah. Tamala Krishna Prabhu ki jai. I'm over. So,
Oh,
I'll bring some water.
that's okay.
Oh, that's mine.
That's ours. Huh? Oh, you don't really have to. Please don't do that. What? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Namo Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Gadadhara Shakti Vesha Munato Jalachandrika Ragamarga Jagat Guru Vande Gaura Narayana Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah Advaita prakati krita narahari prashta swarupa priyo Nityananda sakha sanatana gatihi Shri Rupa Hritketana Lakshmi pranapatir gadadhara
Lasi Jagannath Bhu Sango Pangasa Parshadai Sidayatam Deva Sachinandanaha Aham Kanakaketaki Kusuma Gaura Dustachito Na Dosha Lavadarshita Vivida Dosha Purne Pite Ataha Pravanaya Diya Kripanavatsalatwam Bhaje Sachi Sutamai Prabho Guru Mukunda Mande Kripam Karunai Kamaranda Padma Charanam Chaitanya Chandra Dutim Tambularpana Bhangi Dakshina Karam Svetambaram Sadbaram Premananda Tanum Sudasmitamukam Sri Gaura Chandrakshanam Dhyayet Sri Gadadharam Dujavaram Madhurya Bhushojalam Krishna Chitta Stita Radha Radha Chitta Stito Hari Jivane Nidhane Nityam Radha Krishno Gatir Mama Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe Shyam Kadaini Mai Lal Ju Ki Jai. So wonderful to be in this nice, awesome space with you, good folks, and Maharaji. So good to sit with you and to serve with you. I've been very excited and I'm feeling very satisfied to be with you serving and to spend more time soon. And especially these topics that you have chosen. No, I feel like you're trying to, you know how to take my heart, how to feed my heart. No, I can hear this guitar and think, oh, he's only speaking the whole class about my Thakurji, my deity. Like Maharaj said, they're very small, but everything is inside of them. So I'm feeling very happy to be in their presence and in your presence.
I see pictures.
So it's impossible to describe God. Nobody can ever do and never will do objectively. We can rest about that. There's no need to argue this religion or that religion or this parivar and that parivar. Let's put it all to rest because no one can describe objectively God. It's definitively subjective experience. He himself, as we've been hearing, has come to understand himself through the heart of Radha. Subjectively. Through what heart? Through her heart. There's no way for him to know himself. So how will we know him? Except subjectively. Everyone gets their own Krishna. And when Krishna wants to know what is Krishna like, then he wants to know what Krishna is like for Radha, because she's going to have the greatest capacity to assimilate and digest and experience his sweetness. So always we get our own Krishna, our own God. It's impossible. Objective truth. It's not in our domain. So I have no choice but to speak with a bias. I'm disclaimer. I may say some things as if this is how it is, and I'm saying exactly, truly, and absolutely how it is in my subjective angle of relationship with God. And there are others, we're in good, like-minded others I know in the room who have a very similar taste and appreciation. So my faith is that these topics, maybe theologically, they may, as Mara said, go over the head, but the bhav, the feeling, may it go under the head and land right here. And all we can share is our own heart, our own subjective love for God. You know? I hope no one will go forward from this meeting ever over humble and thinking I have no love of God. Because if we're here by our own free will, we have love of God. We chose to be here. We want to know more about them. So we certainly have love of God. And it has, as Maharaj was saying so beautifully in his class at Mother Pranada's house, infinite prospect. It can grow forever. So these will be tribal matters, meaning from the angle of vision of my people, my Guruji, and my people that have fed me these things, and my two little people who are my best people. No? So there's some Leela told that little Krishna, wee Krishna, he was in the morning time, he would wake up and feel in the bed for mother, when he's still a small child, feeling where's his mom, so he wants to drink some milk first thing in the morning. But mother gets up before the dawn and she's taking care, getting sweets ready, cooking milk, and so many things ready to please her Lala, her darling. And so Krishna will feel around and he'll start to cry and she'll hear him, she'll come and she will give Krishna breast milk and 1,000 kisses all over his face and hands. And, when she's breastfeeding him, she'll take his little feet and kiss them on the bottom and she'll stroke his curly hair. And when he's nicely fed, she'll take him to get the day started to bathe. And bathe little Krishna. His curly hair becomes much longer when it's wet, and she'll, all with the help of some aunties and other sakis of her, servants, they will squeeze out the water from his curly hair, and they will dry his limbs that are sparkling like the night sky. When Krishna's wet from being bathed and the drops of water all over him and the sunlight is coming through the windows, it looks like constellations, and he looks very beautiful in every situation, and that situation of him wet is very beautiful in particular. And then him dry is also very beautiful. And him powdered with fresh, fragrant powders made of camphor and the dust of lotus pollen, keshar. And mother will twist up his hair with a string of jasmine buds. And into that little oiled hair bun, she will gently press one peacock feather. It's like a flag blowing in the breeze. And that time when Krishna is very small, his clothes are very simple. If he's very young, he will only wear a little bell on his waist and he goes naked. And mother can keep an ear on him while she's doing housework. Where is my restless child going? She can hear the bell ringing and know that he's not too far. But anyhow, he's very beautiful. And this day, his mother put some pitambar, some golden cloth on him, and she put some beautiful gems and jewels and strings of pearls that bounce on his chest. And then he's walking through the hallways of his parents' palace, Nanda Raja's palace. And there are 84 columns, a big hallway of so many columns. And the columns are made of slabs of, like a slab of emerald, a slab of red coral, slabs of diamond. Like these are not things that we can conceive. We heard that there's a Hope diamond, it's really expensive. Krishna has pillars made of diamond in his house, and slabs of sapphire, lapis lazuli. And Krishna will wander, tottering through the hallways, running his fingers along the walls, and the parrots will be singing to him along their perches on the side. And it said, there's a poem describing how Sri Krishna came, and one day he came upon his reflection for the first time in the glistening jeweled pillar. And he was astonished. First of all, he was astonished that there was another little boy wandering around like he owned the place, like he's thinking he's alone. He sees there's another little boy, and at first and then he saw this little boy has kajal. His eyes are black all the way to his ear. His eyes, first of all, are like a lotus petal. It goes almost to his ear. And then mother has drawn some black kajal mascara on there, and it's going even further, and it's like a butterfly, landing gently, his eyes blinking. And Krishna totters over and sees this beautiful boy, and that beautiful boy is also enchanted with Krishna. Krishna is looking at him, and he's looking at Krishna. Unblinking eyes, and they're looking at each other, and Krishna's thinking, wow, who is this person? He's so beautiful. And then Krishna comes and he's like, I should give him something. And some people say he took some butter. Hey, I like this. Or he had a little toy, his little flute with him, something very dear to him. He took his flute out from his little waist bun, little cummerbund. Here, he's so enchanted, he wants to make friends. And dadati pratigranati gurima pratik. You have to give gifts and receive gifts to make a bond. And so he wants to give a gift, but that little boy was also so humble and sweet that he wanted to give a gift first. And they were both in a competition of like, who is going to be the receiver first and who's the giver? And they were both insisting, no, you, no, you. And they both happen to like flutes. So Krishna's really like, even though he's Shyam, he's turning pink because he's understanding like, this is like my soulmate. No, we love the same things. And in that moment that he's just falling deeper and deeper. And every time he, gets over his shyness and gives another look at this incredibly charming, sweet, meek, lovely, cheeky, it's like a kaleidoscope of all the best things are happening in this other little boy. And every time he gets a glance to look at him, he's falling deeper and deeper into this infinite akarshnata. Krishna comes from akarshnat, like attractiveness, the power of drawing everything to himself, like, a black hole in space, whatever that is, black hole of nothing. It's something that's so attractive, the stars are like giving their lives to it. Me too! And Krishna draws the light of everyone's eyes because he's the Akarshnata Swarup. He is the object of all attraction. And that works upon himself also. And so he's falling deeper and deeper into an endless fascination with this person who at every moment is blooming. And then suddenly he hears some laughter, some giggling is going on, and someone else is here. And he looks and he sees his mother, and all the Sakis and her friends, they're covering their mouths and they're laughing how Krishna's falling in love with his own reflection. And Krishna at that time, he became embarrassed and he understood they're laughing at me. And then he looked at the pillar and he saw them there also. And then he understood, tuk, tuk. Oh, it's me. It's my reflection. He has to learn things like, Mama, what's that? That's a bird, Krishna, bird. Now he's learning reflection. That's me. And so it said that there's a seed at that time of Krishna's like, they're giving me beautiful things all the time. They give me beautiful creamy butter, with saffron particles and bits of shining mishri crystal sugar candy on top. And they give me beautiful clothes to wear, and they give me beautiful kisses, and they give me beautiful birds, and they give me beautiful gifts all the time. But look, everyone's getting something from seeing me that's more beautiful than anything I've ever seen. And you start to understand that there's more pleasure in loving than being loved. Like, wow, who's loving me? They're doing it because they are drinking this ocean that I didn't know about. It's like they kept this secret from me. And now I know that loving Krishna is like the most satisfying thing. So they said a little seed came at that time. And later on, when he was a little more kishore, blossoming, one time he left the Radhika and Gopis in the Ras Leela. Sometimes they meet and sometimes they separate, and he went apart, and then he became struck with lamentation. Like, I had attained her association after so long, and now I, by my own will, have left her and came to this lonely place. And Krishna became overwhelmed with separation from Radhika, and he sat down under the Imli tree on the bank of the Yamuna, tamarind tree. And he was thinking of her, and it was so painful, so much heartache, like so much regret and ache, and remembering how I was just with her. And not only was I with her, but she was letting me serve her. She told me, bring some flowers and make me anklets, braid my hair. Yes, yes, yes. His heart's desire, his manobishtam was being fulfilled, not only to be served by her, but to serve her. And I left. And alas, and he was thinking, and he was remembering how it was to braid her hair. He was remembering so many things about her, but it was burning more and more. And oh, Radhe, Radhe. He started to chant her name. And as he chanted her name, Radha, 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 chanting her name, remembering her form and her qualities, how she was looking back at him to see her braid and smiling. And all of her Nam, Rup, Guna, Leela was coming in his heart and swelling and swelling and swelling until her radiance, she started to manifest in his heart. And her beautiful golden complexion and her bhav so filled him that he forgot himself. He became absorbed in tadatmik, identification with the object of his worship. He became a Vesh avatar. Radhika started to do Leela in his heart, and she overwhelmed him. She eclipsed him. When the moon gets eclipsed, the golden moon is covered by a dark Shyam shadow. But when Krishna Chandra thinks about Radhika, he becomes eclipsed by light. And he turned golden from the inside out. Like, have you ever seen heat lightning? When the lightning flashes inside the cloud, and just for seconds, the cloud becomes bright and golden. So like heat lightning, but slow motion, swelling, Radha, 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 until he was so absorbed in her, he forgot himself. And witnessing her, he became empathically united with her, and he started to chant Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And he started to feel not only her presence and her glory, but who she is. She's Mahabhava Swarupini. Her whole body and her whole self is made of Mahabhav, very greatest blossoming of love for Krishna. And so if Mahabhav, Radha Bhav, she is Bhav, manifests in his heart, then Radha Bhav manifested in him, and he forgot, oh, I'm Krishna, thinking about Radha. And the vision of Radha was chanting Krishna, Krishna, and he started feeling in mystic empathy with her, oh, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And at that time, when he was in that position, in the mood of Radha, overwhelmed, filled with the mood of Radha, and this name came out of his mouth, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. It's like bursting grapes, every syllable just bursting with so much flavor. And he was astonished at his own name. He had seen himself. Nam, Rup, Guna, Leela, the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna, they're all one. And he had seen himself in the pillar as a child, and he had enjoyed, and he had become attracted. But he had not had yet her vantage point, her subjective experience of that Krishna. And when this name came, Krishna, 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 in her mood, he fell into a whirlpool of pleasure he had never felt before. The supreme enjoyer found a new supreme enjoyment in loving himself. And at that time, Radhika and her Sakhis, they had been looking for him, Shyam. And when they found him, they found this golden boy sitting underneath a tamarind tree, rocking back and forth, soaked in tears, chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And they could understand, oh, Radhika understood, he's taken my mood. And she reached out and she touched him and she took it back. And he became Shyam again. And he looked at her like, what you've been smuggling, And Krishna does Dan Leela, when he stops the gopis for smuggling many beautiful things. It's very naughty things that Krishna catches the gopis passing through a passageway by Govardhan carrying butter and so many things. And he says, you can't pass through here smuggling all these beautiful things. And he says some very naughty and beautiful, flattering things to them about what kind of beauty that they're smuggling. But that time he's looking at her, oh, I will take some tax on you because you're bringing through my Vrindavan. I am the supreme enjoyer. And you're bringing through my Leela. You're secretly smuggling this level of ananda, this level of pleasure in loving me. I'll have to take some tax. You have to give some of that, for the king. So Krishna understood at that time, I will have to do a whole Leela for this. And that night they did so much Leela and Rasa Leela, and the moon held still in the sky so that Krishna could have millions of years that night, just like he has every night to spend with the gopis, because time flies when you're having fun, and 6-8 hours of darkness is not adequate space for them to enjoy. They need millions of years every night. So the moon holds still and they play, and after millions of years of Leela, sporting and drinking honey wine and swimming in the starlight in the Yamuna, they rested in Nidhuvan. And they did. Chakravarti Thakur writes a poem called Swapna Vilas, the pastime in a dream. And Radhika, when she woke up in the morning, Vrinda Devi makes all the birds start gently, like raising the volume, cheep, 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 trying to wake up the divine couple who are pretending to sleep. They don't want to believe that there's another world besides each other's embrace, that they have to sneak back to their houses. And so Vrinda Devi has to waken them by the sound of the birds. And Radhika wakes up and she looks at Krishna and she says, I had such an astonishing dream. I saw this beautiful forest that was just like Vrindavan, but instead of Tamal trees and Kadamba trees, they were palm trees swaying back and forth, coconuts and jackfruits and things. And I saw a river that was like prema, liquid prema, just like the Yamuna, but instead of black, it was very bright and golden. Gangeya It was whitish, golden. And then I saw the most beautiful person. At the first, I thought it was you, but he was golden. And he raised his hands, and sometimes he was chanting Radhe, Radhe. And I thought, it's my beloved. Then I heard him sometimes chanting Krishna, Krishna with such a heartbreaking force of separation that I thought, who else could that be but me? And she said, Shyam, what is this dream? I've seen such a wonderful dream. What is this place and this river and this beautiful golden Gauraki shore? And Krishna smiled, and his Kaustuba gem started to shine. And inside of that gem, from which all of our swarups and all of the spiritual worlds and everything manifests, inside of that gem, just like a gypsy looking in a crystal ball, Radhika could see that whole same dream. And her beloved was smirking, and she understood, oh, this is his heart's desire. He wants to become Gaura. He wants to taste my mood, and he will do this Leela. So there's this whole angle. What is Gaura Purnima all about? Krishna wants to know. He wants to taste what it is to love Krishna. And who loves Krishna best? Radhika. So he wants a little tax of her mood. It's impossible for him to really feel her entire mood. Her Mahabhav is like an ocean with no shore and no bottom. It's endless and forever. And if the waves of the great waves of that sea of her prema would crash and throw up a mist, and the wind would catch even just one little drop of a drop that's so light it can float on the breeze, that much of a mist particle landed in the heart of Krishna, and he became Gauranga, and his limbs became long sometimes, or he sucked in like a turtle, or he grinded his face on the wall. He exploded. He was devastated and ravished by the power of her Mahabhav from a drop that floats on the breeze. What to speak of swimming in the ocean of her mood? It's impossible. He's not calibrated for that. He's not actually ashray tattva. He's vishay tattva. So it's too much for his circuitry. And that one little drop was enough to drown the universe. No? We are all downstream of that. And so one whole angle is that he came. And then there's a completely other angle. What is this Gaura Purnima all about? That Krishna has come in the mood of Radha to enjoy, to understand the mystery of her love, to know what she sees in him, and to enjoy also the greatest possible happiness, which is Krishna Prem. From her perspective, top tier Krishna Prem. That's all one angle. It's all for him, because he's a supreme enjoyer. Even if he comes as a bhakta, he's still the supreme enjoyer. He's just doing a Leela being a bhakta. Right? So it's all about him. What is this Gaura Purnima? It's all for him. But I'll say it's all for her. The whole thing is for her. He's doing it all for her. And there are some commentaries that he's paying back a debt. I could never love, never repay your debt. And so he's come to preach indirectly the service of Radhika and gather many, many to her. There's been well told that side. But actually, in the morning time, there's so many ways to see it, so many ways to tell one small thing. In the morning time, when Radha and Krishna have to be separated and scurry back to their own homes before the sun rises too much, then Radhika will faint. She doesn't sleep. From dancing with millions of years of Krishna, she's not tired. She could dance forever. But she's so overwhelmed by the separation that she cannot stay conscious. And like Maharaj was saying, the symptom of mrityu, or like death, pralay, she becomes devastated when her whole body that's made to serve Krishna cannot be with Krishna. It's an impossible situation for her to exist in. How does she exist when every particle of her is made for serving him and they're separated? So she collapses in her bed and she dreams. And when she wakes up, the sunrise are coming through the window, and there's a message, beautiful, blessed message that Yashoda is calling, please come and cook for Krishna and Nandagown. And then she finds will to live again. I will serve. And so many beautiful things. All of our Rasikacharyas, our Rupanugacharyas have spent so much time to describe the beautiful, this celebration, the festival of making her ready. Her bathing chambers are like a slab of marble. Raghunath Das Goswami says, Pranalim kila ler bahubera binam. He's saying, when will I? wash off while you're still sleeping. I will come to that throne of marble that you will sit on when we pour from golden pots the bath water over you for your morning bath. I will come and I will wash all of this place with fragrant water. I will perfume the whole bathing area with the finest resins of the trees and perfumes, and I will dry with my own hair. I will open my hair and dry that sitting place for you, and dry the drains and everything where your bathing ceremony will take place. And then in the sun rays coming through the lattice, when they cut the sandstone and it makes this lattice it's like a kunja, but it's sandstone, and the beams of light come in so that there's light in the bathroom, but nobody could see from a distance. And the steam from the warm water is going up, and the golden rays are coming, and Radhika sits in her special gamsha, her bathing gamsha, and opens her hair, and they bathe her, and her hair falls to the ground. And it's a whole festival of her service, such wonderful service of those most blessed souls who have the great confidence, of her love herself, welcomed them to serve her body and her heart without any limit. So they are entirely hers, and she is entirely theirs, just like your own deity. You can dress your deity how you want, and they dress her how they want, and they bathe her how they want, and she receives. And then so many things are there, so much ornamentation is there. She's carefully dried and perfumed and oiled, and red lines put here, and earrings and nose ring and a honey pearl that hangs from the tip of the nose, and so many kinds of ornaments and drawings with musk over her shoulders. And finally, when everything is done, Srila Chakravarti Thakur, he tells that I will bring you, Devi. When will that day be mine? That I will bring you a jeweled mirror. And I had to write it down because I just learned this verse. And when I get shy in front of new people, I forget the verses. He says, Saundarya madbhutam aveksha nijam swakanta netrali lobanam aveta vilola gatrim pranar budena viduvartika dipakaischa nirmanchayani nayanam bunimajitangi. Says, Saundaryam adbhutam aveksha nijam. When you see your own adbhuta sundar, your saundarya, your beauty is so astonishing. And when you behold your own beauty, vilola gatrim, you will begin to tremble with eagerness, that swakanta netrali lobhanam, that your lover's honeybee-like eyes will be so greedy for this flower. She's looking at her face and her kajal and her, one little drop of musk on the chin, and this kama yantra that's been drawn like tilak on her forehead, just like the moon. When the deer see the headlights, or when the deer see the moon, they freeze. And when Krishna will see this mark that the Sakhis have drawn on her forehead, he will lose his mind in love with her. And when she sees all of this, her own beauty, she begins to shake and to tremble, because she cannot wait. Oh, that my lover's greedy bee-like eyes should drink this. At that time, Chakravarti Thakur, in the mood of Vinod Manjari, is saying, Pranar Buddha viduvartika deepa kaischa, that I will offer you that time when I see you holding that mirror and trembling at your own reflection. At that time, I will offer you the camphor lamp of my life. I will worship you with Nirmanchayani Nayanambu Nimajitangi, with my body soaked in tears, myself trembling and shaking, and soaked in tears, I will worship you, the goddess of my life, who trembled to look at your own face in a mirror. Now, she could be trembling because she's seeing her own blue eyes and thinking of Krishna. If she sees a tamal tree, she thinks of Krishna. If she sees a bumblebee, she thinks of Krishna. If she sees her own Sakhi's eyebrows smiling and dancing, she thinks of Krishna. Everything dark makes her think of Krishna. When she sees her own dark blue eyes, is she looking in the mirror and forgetting herself at her own eyes? No. Is Vinod Manjari, oh my goddess, your love is so glorious that even when you look at yourself, you only see him. No? You see, your heart is so full of him, so Krishnamaya, that even if you look at yourself, all you see is him. One way is like that. But another, tremble and think, this is when will he taste this beauty? She's devastated that he's not tasting it right now. She's eternal, but she's feeling like my youth is like a fresh flower, It can pass at any moment, you know. Every morning I have to pick the grapefruit blossoms. They're very fragrant and sweet. You know, you can't wait till tomorrow. Sometimes I think, well, leave some for tomorrow. It's like, no, they'll be delicate tomorrow and the petals will fall off. You pick them now, because in a day, this fleeting blossom is gone. And Radhika feels anxiety looking at her own beauty. Right now it's perfect, but then I will get older, and right now Krishna should have it right now. She's so eager that he should taste this, my beauty. And then another time, you know, Krishna and Radhika couldn't meet for a long time, and finally Subal Saka had to come and bring message there. No, it's a whole other Leela. And Radhika and Subal, they changed clothes, and Radhika, she put on Subal's clothes and she tied up her, because Subal and her are both very golden and they have big blue eyes, so they can convince her mother-in-law Jatila that this is actually Subal who came to find his cow. Now he's leaving again, but it was Subal that came, and it's Radhika that leaves with her long hair tied up in a turban, you know, and a cow herding rope on her shoulder, and sari tied like pants with her beautiful feet showing. Normally her feet are underneath her moving skirts, but now her beautiful feet and ankles are showing, and she's going with a rope on her shoulder out. Okay, thank you, Mother Jatila, I'm going. And Jatila says, I know you're Krishna's friend. Go back quickly to Krishna. Don't come back here. And she says, with your blessing. Radhika goes to find Krishna, and he's crying his heart out. When he sees Subal coming, he thinks, no, you were supposed to bring Radhika. And Subal says, I'm sorry, there are too many obstacles, I couldn't bring her, but I could bring Chandravali right now if you want, one other gopi. Radhika's dressed as Subal, and Krishna's crying, waiting for her to come. And when he sees his friend come back without Radhika, the mission was a failure. Krishna's thinking, I cannot live. He said, I'm sorry, Radhika cannot come out today or tomorrow, but I can bring Chandravali right now if you want. Radhika's rival, and she's watching how he will behave. And he said, if someone is thirsty for milk, what's the use of a glass of lemon juice? And Radhika becomes very happy. And she says, don't worry, my friend, I'm here for you. Subal reaches out and catches Krishna's hand, and Krishna feels some electricity going through. Don't worry, brother, I'm here. And embraces. And when they embrace, Krishna thrills, and Radhika's turban comes loose, and her long hair falls down, and she feels such satisfaction. Oh, how easy it is to meet my beloved in the male form. Don't have to be worried about society or my mother-in-law or anything. I could move with him like Narottam Thakur sings in one song. If only I was a boy, then I would go with you from place to place, forest to forest. I would roam with you anywhere and everywhere freely. If only I was a boy. So we've heard so much story that Krishna wants to come and taste what is his own beauty and the mood of Radha, and it's okay, that's fine. That's a legal story, but it's subjective. Reality is subjective. I say this whole Gaura Leela is because Radhika wants to know what is the freedom of being a boy, that she can be with Krishna 24 hours a day. That her elders like Sachimata will say to her, oh Gadai, you're so nice. You know how to take care of my Nimai when his heart is disturbed, separation, ecstasies. You please always stay together. Sleep by his side, live with him. Yes, mother. And then in the kirtan, when Mukunda and others are singing, and the bhav, that Radha bhav is blooming in the heart of Mahaprabhu, he changes completely. Sometimes he's very boisterous. Sometimes he's in the mood of, even Krishna. He's so absorbed in thinking of Krishna that he will stand treefold, in the middle of the kirtan, glancing at everyone like the stealer of hearts. Sometimes many moods come in him. Sometimes the mood of Varaha comes in him. Sometimes the mood of Durga comes in him. He's like a kaleidoscope of tasting everything. He's like the unlimited Bhagavan, like more than the universal form, that Arjuna was trembling to see the universal form, but Mahaprabhu is like the universe of bhavs. So many different moods are blooming in him. But when the Radha bhav comes, everything changes. Nityananda Prabhu will take steps back. He won't dance close to him at that time because everything changes, and Mahaprabhu's whole swarup changes. The way that he moves, he's not Tandava dancing anymore, vigorously and masculine. It becomes a Lasya dance, supremely liquid and fluid, and he's decorated with so many bhavs. Tears are running down. Oh, Krishna, Krishna. Radha bhav is blooming, and when those two come together, it's the beauty of Krishna, but lit up from the inside with the sweetness of Radha. The cream sweetness of Radha filling all of his limbs to the fingertips and toe tips. and dancing in that mood. And Gadai will look. Sri Radha Gadadhar will look at her own bhav. Just like Krishna wants to see himself, so he looks into the heart of Radha. When he looks into Radha Bhav, Krishna can understand himself. And when Radhika wants to understand her own self, she looks in the mirror that her Sakis give her and she trembles. What kind of beauty is this for my lover? This is so worthy of him. He should have this. He should enjoy this beauty. And now he's inside of it, like swimming. He's dancing and raising his arms in her mood, and he's calling Krishna in her voice. And all of it is occurring. He is fully dove into what she saw in the mirror, because she's decorated also with bhav. All of her ornaments are actually bhavs and features. Prema Kautilya Kajalam. Her kajal is actually the crookedness of love. Saubhagya Tilak Ojalam. Her tilak is actually her own good fortune. All of her ornaments and all of her things are actually bhavs. And when Mahaprabhu is dancing in Ashta Sattvic Bhav, decorated with her moods, Gadadhar looks at the face of Gauranga, and Radha looks in the face of Gaura Krishna like a mirror and understands herself. He looks into the heart of her to understand himself, and she looks into the face of him who's looking into her heart to understand herself. Some people say, oh, Krishna stole the mood of Radhika. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But I say that Radhika stole Krishna's Purush Bhav. Did Krishna steal that Radha Bhav, that Prakriti? He wants to know Krishna, the supreme yang, wants to know the cream of the supreme yin. So he stole some from her heart and he put it inside. Yes, this is what it feels like to be the supreme yin. Did he steal from her? Could he do so? Or did she steal away from him, his Purush Bhav? She took his yang away. I'll use this, thank you, dress like a gopa. I'll dress as a boy, as a brahmachari, so I can always be with you day and night. And in the space that's left when he's not the Purush anymore, her Bhav automatically flooded in and overwhelmed him. And she's just occurring in him. Her Bhav is occurring in him. He is possessed as an Avesh avatar. He's under her influence. Just take away this Purush Bhav and Radha Bhav will occur. Prema for Krishna will occur. And it's the same for us. If we would just give up our Purush Bhav, oh, there's something for me, just take that out of the way and she would flood in. The only reason we're not already flooded in and carried away in Krishna Prema is because of this Purush Bhav. I am the yang, I am the enjoyer. So we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. This Hare is Radhika, who's doing Harana. She's taking Krishna away from all the other gopis. There can be millions of gopis, Nityasiddhas, even any millions of Chandravalis and everything, but Radhika can take him away, draw his mind from all of his sakas and all of his sakis and from all of his avatars and everything. She is called Hare, and he is Krishna because he attracts her in return. But then Hare Rama, this is Gaura Leela. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is Navadvip Leela. They're going back and forth like two sides of a coin spinning. If you spin a coin, it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Radhika stealing Krishna away to a kunja by herself, from all the other gopis in Ras. But Hare Rama, Hare is Gadadhar, who is, you don't need this Purush Bhav anymore. Oh, Krishna, supreme enjoyer. I'll take this away from you. And you're still, by tattva, he has no Purush Bhav, so he's not in the mood of the enjoyer. He's in the mood of bhakta and the enjoyed. But he still is the Vishai, Vigraha. He still is the enjoyer. He still is Rasaraj, but now with Mahabhav. So Rama is Rasaraj Mahabhav. Like Gaura is Govinda and Radha. If they come together, you get Gaura. And if you take Rasaraj, the king of mellows, but you take away, Hare takes away, Gadadhar takes away his Purush Bhav, then he will fill with her Mahabhav. Understand? Rasaraj Mahabhav, Rama, Hare Rama. So, what is this Gaura Purnima all about? Radhika. Understanding herself. She's coming to know herself. She's overwhelming her lover. When Maharaj says that Gadadhar is the Supreme Personality of Radha. It's hard for me to say that, you know. They're both top, but and at the same time, yes, because Swadhina Bhartrika, one kind of heroine is the heroine who completely dominates her beloved, and he does whatever she wants. The best, most like full moon of the heroine is when she's completely stolen the mind and heart of her lover, and she tells Krishna, oh, you should paint my feet on the bottom with some red lac. And he's like, thank you, yes. And he's like, he's trying, but his hands are trembling. You know? He's so overwhelmed with, you know, happiness to be able to serve her in that Seva Kunj. So, Swadhina Bhartrika, this for us, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, a particular tribal affiliation, our totem, the top of our totem, like in that Seva Kunj picture of our Guru Maharaj, is Radhika with the upper hand. That's called Swadhina Bhartrika, the heroine who controls her lover. That the supreme controller has become submissive to her order, and that is his highest enjoyment, to be controlled by her. But when he's completely controlled, that he forgets even he's Krishna, and he's possessed by her, there's no state of Krishna more controlled by Radha than Gaura. Therefore, Gadadhar is Parama Swadhina Bhartrika, who by a few words, now she doesn't have to like do man and do all these like, you know, complicated things to control him. She's very simple and meek. She's just like, let's read a Bhagavatam verse today. And he's overwhelmed by that. You know? So she doesn't have to be anymore. You know, she does everything for him, but now she's showing her own, I just want to serve you. You know, I'm controlling you because I'm your slave and it's what you like. So as your slave to your pleasure, I would die millions of times every moment for eternity for your pleasure. So I'm controlling you because it pleases you. And so Gadadhar, by a few words of katha, is taking the mind of Gaura Krishna deeper and deeper and deeper into the mystery of her Mahabhav. No, Hare, she's taking him farther and farther and farther into that sea where he doesn't know how to swim. So she's teaching him to swim, how to feel these things. And it overflows. So what is it about all this Gaura Purnima? Sri Radha Mahima. That she is Sarveshwareshwareshwari. She controls the Supreme Controller. He's not doing anything. He's at the center of reality and everything else moves by her. Everything now, past, present, future, all that exists in every dimension of life, at every level of being, is completely controlled by her. Every living being, all the little plants outside in the swamp and the fish in the fish ponds, and all of us sitting here, we're all in an evolutionary timeline, and she, as the law of nature, is drawing us all toward that same center that we all exist for, the pleasure of her lover. There's nobody out of that. We're all included in that. So what is Gaura Purnima all about? It's just about showing us what it's always all been about. It's about her ruling everything for his pleasure. It's about her absolute victory over him and showing us, let her take your Purush Bhav. Let her take away the cancer of your separatist, egoistic enjoyment. Be emptied like an empty bag, and she will fill. No, there's nothing else but Radha Bhav. For Hanuman, Radha she loves Krishna, and Krishna expands himself in millions of forms, and she expands herself as Bhakti Devi in the hearts of all devotees to love him in whatever form those devotees are attracted to, but it's all Krishna Seva, and it's all Radha Bhav. If we have even faith, Shraddha, that is the presence of Radha Bhav. It's loving God is Radha Bhav. It's her who loves him, and there's nothing else but them. And we have the gift to exist and be sentient beings inside of that, and to agree with that, to become a flower of her vine. But and all it takes is take out this Purush Bhav. Just one thing. This one thing is in the way. And our separate plans, our separate opinions, convictions. I don't know anything. I don't care anything. Devi, own me. I exist for that, and I'm tired of resisting my purpose, my existential, ontological, created purpose. Tavai Vasmi, I'm all yours. Own me, take me, let me be an ornament of your service to your lover's pleasure. So, It is her glory. Mahaprabhu is bowing. Krishna is bowing to that glory, showing us by example. What a great man does, all society will follow. He's bowing. Let this Parama Swadhina Bhartrika, Supreme Controller, let her dominate you too. Let her own you, take you, have you. Give your life for her as I have done. I am the supreme enjoyer, and the greatest enjoyment I have known is submission to Sri Radha. Gaura Premanande. Shri Gadaini Mai Lal Ju Ki, Radha Shyam Sundar Ju Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande.
We'll do kirtan for a few minutes, meanwhile we'll say Prashad.
Jai.
Want to sing, Tamal?
I don't know how to do it.
You sing?
We can. Huh?
We can.
Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai 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 Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai 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 Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, O Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe. All together. Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe,
Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, oh Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, oh Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, oh Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, oh Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, 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 Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Radhe Govinda, Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai 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 Radhe.
Gadai Gaura Purnima All About.